this one is an interesting item. This is a Frosty Chiller, and I was looking at it, thinking about it, and I decided, hey, I should collect it because it sounds like my name, Harley Spiller, Frosty Chiller. You turn a martini glass upside down on it, and it pushes on this can of gas. I'm sure that's real safe. And it turns your glass into a beautifully frosted drink conveyor. And that's part of the collection of things that sound like Harley Spiller.
In 2006, shortly before his marriage to the artist Micki Watanabe, I interviewed my friend Harley Spiller at home as he showed me what he had collected in his apartment on the Upper East Side. Named by Art and Antiques magazine as one of the nation's top 100 collectors, Harley says his preference is to collect ordinary objects people don't think twice about.
Welcome to Spiegelman, the New York City Apartment Museum. Located on 78th Street and York Avenue, this museum is in a 104-year-old tenement house, the only landmark tenement in New York City. Here's a menu from that same year this place was built, 1898. Here's an illuminated manuscript from 2006, From My Fiancé to Me. A painting by Martin Wong of bricks. I paid about $88 per brick for that masterpiece. Above it is a Joe Light statement. Most European slave masters were atheists. He wrote that on April 6, 1995, and it wasn't much earlier that he wrote, "A chicken's body was created to accept filth like a swine, and filth will not make it sick." Joe Light's a Tennessee native who lives on Looney Street, literally, in Memphis, Tennessee. And my friend John Bifus interviewed him for the Memphis Press Scimitar newspaper. Now I think it's called the Commercial Appeal, and I went to visit him. Also from Memphis, Tennessee, here is Mr. T. Oh, I lost some gold.
Don't give me no back talk, sucker. Don't make me mad. Quit your jibber jabber. I pity the fool. I pity the fool.
Mr. T sits on a case with about 400 items of Mr. T memorabilia. And alas, after a quarter century in this apartment, I'm headed out. So I've been calling popular culture programs at universities, and they didn't want the Mr. T collection. So I started calling African American studies programs, starting with Henry Louis Gates at Harvard University. Haven't heard from him yet. But Miriam Akibila, or something like that, from UC Davis has called and expressed a little interest. And we'll see if anybody wants 300 or 400 Mr. T collectibles, all in this jazzy little trunk here. See, this opens up and we've got storage inside for Mr. T playing cards and things like that. And then this bench can wiggle right around like that and join up with there, and that's my spare bed. Spare beds here at Spiegelman. Got some graffiti art up on the wall by Days, by Stay High 149. The last sign from Phil's Luncheonette, 34th Street, Manhattan place. And over here is what we call Copper Corner. Quite a few copper items. They drilled me a new water pipe, and I thought it would color the Statue of Liberty, but it hasn't yet. So I've been putting on these copper leaves and copper stuff. My friend Norm made me a box that is intended to distress coinage. He put copper sulfate on this woven copper box, and I've had this about 15 years. He's an artist and friend, and I know him through the same circles that I know the filmmaker here today, Richard Leeds, through Kathy Jaharis, through Jim Kindle, through Northwestern University, Evanston, Illinois. This is an abalone shell. I didn't know this. I always thought those holes were a mistake, but that's the abalone's air air intake and exhale valves. It's kind of a beautiful thing. This is mother of pearl. It comes from the giant abalone. If you were to eat this clam-like critter at the Chinese restaurant, it might cost you an arm and a leg. They're very expensive and very delicious. Abalone has the texture, believe it or not, of bologna. And as we wander around this huge apartment, you'll notice the bathtub in the kitchen, perhaps the most distinguished characteristic of the place. And if you can get way up here, you'll see I've got a happy little bathtub key ring. It's actually called the Happy Bathtub, and it's got a 718 phone number. I don't know what that place is. I've been showering in here for 25 years. Good thing there's a shower in here because I don't really fit too well in this 3-foot beauty. And above here is something that's really special to me. This bottle came from Ruby Ling, gave me this, and it was her husband, may he rest in peace, favorite wine from Taiwan, and he had brought it with him to the United States, and they lived in Queens. And he passed away, leaving a little bit of this wine in the bottle. So she brought it to me, and the wine's all gone. But I'm very touched by that gesture she made. And up here are paintbrushes that belong to Martin Wong. At his memorial service, they had a table. His mom put out his brushes, and anyone who wanted could take some. He painted ambidextrously, left and right hands, and he said he could feel electricity between the two brushes. They really glommed up with paint, and those were how he liked it. Also up here is a pack of wooden spoons. These are called Right Spoons, the true shape of table silver. And these were made in Tupper Lake, New York. They're disposable. They were 10 cents for the pack of 8 of them, and they're wood and curved and really kind of nice. Use at home and outdoors from the Oval Wood Dish Corporation of Tupper Lake, New York. Some spoons like this from my collection are now on view at the Smithsonian Cooper-Hewitt National Design Museum on 5th Avenue and 91st Street in a show called Feeding Desire, 505 years of American Tools of the Table. Up here's another item. I don't know that this will go in a museum soon, but they're antibacterial Q-tips. The first ever pack of antibacterial Q-tips. I'm hoping this is the ticket for my offspring's college education. Let's see what else is up here is kind of nice. Is this bottle of water? Well, not water anymore, stones are in it, but that comes from the world's tallest waterfall, Angel Falls in Canaima, Venezuela. And inside are some pebbles from the base of Angel Falls, which was quite an amazing natural scene, still is. And I was lucky enough to visit there because of Chinese menus. Yep, Chinese menus brought me to the world's tallest waterfall because I collect Chinese menus, and Javier Tellez is an artist who liked that collection, and he used me and my passion for menus as his piece in a show at the Museo de Bellas Artes de Caracas about 4 years ago. It was a show about how putting culture in a museum changes the culture, robs it of its vital spirit. So he put my menus into the museum's existing exhibit of old Chinese porcelain. So these plates, when they're locked behind a museum case, don't work anymore. They're not plates anymore. And so he put my menus in with them, and that kind of shook up a staid exhibit. And we had a lot of fun with that. This is a bottle. I call this art piece Faulkner's Last Ginger Ale. William Faulkner from outside of Memphis. Another Memphis reference. Wow, we're really hitting those today. Faulkner's grave is under a gorgeous old oak tree. These acorn caps and oak leaves are from that. And this bottle was from his home. We went to go visit, but they were closed that day. They were doing some construction. They were digging a big hole, and that bottle came out of the ground. So I thought, well, hey, it could have been Faulkner's last ginger ale. And the story goes about Faulkner that they reported in the Memphis papers he died. He was thrown by a horse. But the insiders tell you that he fell a set of steps drunk and died in the fall. So his friends or family put him on a horse, then kicked the horse, so the horse kicked him, and so they could have a nice report in the newspaper instead of the ugly alcohol abuse story. Up here is a giant Mao pin that I got in Shanghai, and a little piece of art by Maria Alos, an artist who came here, took a photo of this space, and exhibited it at the Museum of the City of New York. And she did this project where she visited an apartment in every zip code in Manhattan. Then she returned the photo with a little drawing, a little doll of the apartment keepers, and put that back in the apartment. That was the finished piece. Over here we have the reason I came to this apartment and stayed without a second thought, a fire escape. I figured I could put my hammock out on this fire escape and watch the world go by, and I've been doing that all along. It's also really nice out here. There's a sign, I couldn't read it. It was caked with paint when I got here, and my buddy Adam deciphered it. It says, "Notice, anyone placing any encumbrance on this balcony will be fined $10. The word encumbrance hyphenated there stumped a lot of people, but Adam figured it out, and now I've painted it with black so you can read that. I'll be sad to see that go. Here from Boston is a brick that says HS. I'm hoping to put that in a building I'd build someday. And lots of natural stuff that's good to get corroded, like these boat zincs and coconut shells from the beach. A big, huge fishing tackle knot from the southernmost tip of New York State, which is below Chicago, actually. Tottenville, Staten Island. They sided with the South during the Civil War. That's how far south Tottenville is. These my father manufactured. These are cast iron trivets. This pattern is called the Lincoln Drape. This one, I don't know the name of it, but these are to put your hot pans on. And my dad made these and did a lot of cast iron work, like these miniature cast iron frying pans here. These have Dutch Amish designs. A small collection of about 10 or 12 of them. Most were samples my dad got when he was figuring out what he could do in cast iron. A couple I actually found at a thrift store around here. The best thing about the Upper East Side is the garbage. That's what I'm going to miss the most. People throw out perfectly good things. Absolutely wonderful things. Today I shipped a sign to the New Hampshire Historical Society laying against a lamppost on 2nd Avenue and 79th Street. It said Charles A. Whitehouse, printers. So I Googled that and found out that Charles was a printer in New Hampshire. At least he did one book in 1919. So I emailed the Historical Society. They were interested. So I shipped that off today. A piece of trash from the streets going to a museum, a historical society with a big collection of signs, and I hope they'll like it and put it into their permanent collection. This is kind of fun, this spice rack. I love to cook, I love spices, and I patterned my spice rack after a guy I know who's a really great chef, and this is a photo I took of his house. Just bags of open spices and all kind of spices around, and this Russian cosmonaut kind of sign that he had. So the day I found this sign, I still don't know what language it is. I think it's Tibetan or Indian. I just don't know. I figured that was the closest thing to this, and so I keep the picture of the spice rack I copied on up here. Here's a bottle of Russian vodka from Russia. Vodka. And I keep a small collection of tiny food bottles here. A Tabasco, a Perrier, Taittinger, which is actually not champagne, of course, but bubbles. And we have from Boca Junior in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a seltzer bottle, the old-fashioned one in a miniature format, and oyster sauce. Of course, there's a cow and a couple of chickens, and from inside one of those European egg candies, the Kinder Chocolate, 2 little babies, twin babies. This is an unusual item. This is from my collection of fruit pairing devices. This is a cow bone device that is used to open pomelo, a big grapefruit kind of fruit. This is a 12-year-old lemon. It bounces and it sounds like a ping pong ball to me. Kind of a cool thing. And this is a pack of fun mints. These are from Indonesia. Siggy mints. So up here you've got all kinds of spices. This is a nice thing. This is also from Indonesia. This is a box made out of clove. And guess what I keep in it? And this is another thing from Indonesia. I've been storing vanilla beans in here. Long, lanky vanilla beans. I have a very small collection of corks from superb bottles of wine that I remember. This Native American potlatch supper ceremonial ladle comes from the collection of Andy Warhol. And I purchased it at his estate. Well, actually a melon. And it's bitter and very, very good for your blood system. They say it's cleansing. And I've acquired the taste and I love it. This is a baby's abacus, a bitter melon, and a toy bitter melon. And this, I'm told, is an Osage apple. So this is over here in the green wrinkled fruit department. Another interesting item here is white chili powder. White pepper, but white hot pepper. Kind of fun. And of course, what home would be complete without a can of Billy beer? Yup, pull tab and everything. Sounds almost powdery. So moving on over here. Whoa! Maybe the fruit's not plastic. We call this area here, we call this Lou's Siamese room. See? This is the most obtuse menu in my collection. I collect Chinese menus. So this is from Lou's Siamese room. 2342 Fruit Ridge Road in Sacramento, California, and there's nothing Asian about it. A fried half disjointed spring chicken. Disjointed, kind of like my speech here tonight. So I bought it because it was just touching on the Orient, and the cat's tongue is in the martini, or whatever glass drink this is with a chair. I guess that's a martini, I don't know. But I've got such a small apartment that I named the various areas to make it sound like it was bigger. This is my collection of beer glasses. I've only got one mug that's ceramic. I specialize in these Belgian, they call them balicas. They're balls to hold the different types of Belgian, very, very unusual and distinctive Belgian ales. And I also like small beer glasses, not the big American ones like this. Giant Schlitz is the only big one I have. I prefer a smaller glass. The beer stays colder, and who's showing off to who anyways? These are kind of fun. These are from a Chinatown 99-cent store, a couple bottle openers. And I don't know if they knew what they were doing, but this one is for Borona, and this one is for Dudweiser. I really don't know if they knew. I think they were just trying to change the name slightly to make it legal for them to do that. Over here's a collection that's doing better than the green plastic bitter melons. This is the wooden mango collection, now totaling 3. You can tell it's a mango from that distinctive, strange little point on the end. This one's got one too, and here we go with that. That is the signal that you're dealing with a wooden mango. Here's a collection that no one has ever seen before. Acquired one day, within 3 minutes, in a store in the Adirondack Mountains. Red, white, and blue writing implements. Red, white, and blue writing implements that all are for politicians in the Adirondacks. On the counter at the general store in Keene Valley, New York. So that's the only time I've gotten a whole collection square away just like that. This is my daily mantra. I hope to turn all this junk into a TV show someday. Over here is a fun thing. This is a imitation Mangosteen toothpick set. Very rare and highly coveted item. My dad likes to throw the Hanukkah dreidel party every year, and he usually spots the family members $50 or so. For a few years he was doing the golden dollar coins, the Sacagaweas. Then one year I wasn't able to attend, but everybody apparently got this book, Your Harriet and Mort Happy Hanukkah Gelt. And it's real US dollars, and he went to the print shop and had him put the perfect binding glue on the edge. Everybody else spent theirs and played it in the game, but I wasn't at the game, so I've hung on to mine as a keepsake. I recently saw one glued on this side, selling for, with $100 in it, selling for $199 at the Cooper-Hewitt. It's an artist project. My dad beat that guy to it years in advance. Here's a thing that no one in the world has: the albino, the Moby Dick, the rare and unusual white Metro card. Don't even ask. This is an object, I don't know what it is. It's the most mysterious object in my life. We don't know what this thing does. What was it built for? I have two of them, by the way. It's a slightly sharp edge here. It splits. It kind of is loose like that. It's got these flanges. Please check in, inspectorcollector.com. Let us know, what is this item? Thank you. Also over here is the oldest thing in this apartment. This is from the 1700s. It's a church document from Venezuela, and it's got the signatures of the dozen or so church elders who certified an event took place at their church. This is, upon study, really interesting because all these names have swirls and flourishes and special little markings attached to them beyond just the letters. I realized, staring at it time and again, that this was before iris scans or DNA analysis, or that they knew what a fingerprint was. And so the only way to prove who you were was to sign your name in a unique and irreplicable way. So look at these signatures. They're reminiscent of the Constitution with the John Hancock and all that flourish. It's really kind of fascinating to me.
I'm missing it. This could be the... We're not sure if he's dead or alive. Is that...
The state of Cuba says that he's recovering from gastrosurgery. The people in Miami who escaped Cuba and don't like him are rejoicing in the streets. They're saying he's dead, and they're just setting up, wasting time till they get their new government in place. But I don't buy that, because Raul, the brother, has been in line and everybody knows he's taken over. So I imagine this succession plans are all in order. Anyways, there's Castro in 1959 eating Chinese food with chopsticks and having a Coca-Cola. I took a picture of that picture in a Chinese restaurant in Havana, where I was on September 11th in that fateful day. I learned what a Cuba Libre is. You know, Cuba Libre is another name for a rum and Coke. Well, the reason it's called Cuba Libre is the U.S. ran out of Cuba and didn't have time to take any of their supplies. So when Castro and Bautista took over, they had all this free Coca-Cola, and that was the symbol of the U.S., so they just started drinking it and mixing it with the rum. Kind of a nifty story. Also on the fridge is a plate from the Varsity, the world's largest seller of Coca-Cola in, of course, Atlanta, Georgia, the hometown of Coke. And the Varsity is an amazingly gigantic hot dog stand. The hot dogs are bright, fake pink, Pepto-Bismol pink, and they give you bizarre burps, but the locals swear by them. At the Varsity, there's a room for every TV station that has sports. So there's an ABC room, an NBC room. So everybody goes to these rooms to eat their weenies and watch the games. The prices are up here too. This is only from a couple years ago, and a plain dog was $1.25 at a sit-down place. The varsity employees are famous for big lines and standing there and they'll say, "What do you have? What do you have? Have your order on your mind and your money in your hand. What do you have? What do you have?" And we went, and it was fun. So back over here, there are some interesting items here. This is a picture of my old friend John Pinn, who has gone on to meet his maker, and in it is the oldest food that I ever had. It's a Oreo cookie with a piece of paper in it, and John gave me that and told me the legend of the fortune cookie, that it was based on a Chinese secret way to slip messages around during the war by slipping them in a cake. And he gave me this a long time ago, and I still have that food. It's the last piece of food existing on the planet that he prepared. What's interesting is my fiance said that the note paper inside the cookie is actually Japanese writing. I wonder if he thought I'd never find that out. It sits next to two of my rarest treasures. These are boxes that I purchased on eBay from the estate of a lady who had died and left 5 mansions in California. Inside you will find, from the 19th century, a bird's nest, a real swallow's nest that's used for Chinese food. Here's another one. The sea swallows glue their nests to the wall with their spit, and this is in the Roaring Forties, the most windy part of the world. And so if this glue works to hold the bird's nests up there, these little tiny quarter-ounce starlings or whatever they are, the Chinese think that it must be good to eat and strong and healthy for your body, so they spend a lot of time and effort getting that. Also in this box is a piece of dried coconut. You can actually determine the form of the coconut, and a few spiced watermelon seeds, a favorite snack, and the real treasure, a Chinese menu. It tells you in the literature taped inside the box that this is all related to Li Hongcheng, the Chinese viceroy who was the first Chinese emissary to visit the new United States, and he's intimately connected with the discovery, the propulsion, whatever you call it, of chop suey. So these are rare and important items, not yet fully researched, not yet unraveled, that will tell us about the origins of chop suey. Let's see, what else do I have to share in this home? This is pretty fun. This is a gift from my honey. It goes in my spoon collection. Check out how this box opens. And it flips around like that. And in it are 6 very pretty silver spoons. And also up here is a box she made for Valentine's Day. She made this from scratch. You push from the back and it opens up, and inside here is a big old hankin spoon, and then a very delicate little spoon made out of a coin. The coin is curved and bent into the bowl of the spoon. And there's more. In here is a Welsh love spoon. Welsh men, when they haven't intended, will carve a spoon with all kinds of symbolism, interlocking hearts, pretty obvious symbolism, and a lot more. But Micki is the first woman I know to give a man a spoon. Very nice stuff. I have about 700 spoons. I try to save spoons that are really unusual. I don't collect collector spoons like spoons of the 50 states or spoons of every pope. I collect spoons with different functions, like a dental excavation spoon, that scary tool that the dentist digs in your molars with. Let's see, what else can I share from... Oh, well, here's a beaut. Up here is new Baggies garment bags. Strong, clear bags to protect your clothes. Check out those clothes. Dude, is that the 1970s or what? They had a eviction notice for my apartment building. A new landlord wanted everybody gone. He was going to build an 82-story condominium, world's tallest private residence. So we started having street sales and bake-offs, and we beat them. We got landmarked, and I'm still here. And one day at the street sale, the ladies were selling all kinds of knickknacks and gewgaws and bric-a-brac. And this was on the table, and I said, I want that. And they said, no, we need that. That's what we're using for the bags. And I said, well, I'll give you $1 for it. And she had to scratch her head. It took her a long time to give it up. She said, well, what if it rains? I said, well, with $1, you could buy a box of many more stronger, better bags. Anyways, I talked her into this beautiful new Baggies garment bag box. And this is an important item. This is from Dancing at Lunasa. Meryl Streep went into an old store and bought this roll of Harley bog wipe. And my friend Robert worked on the movie and swiped the swipe for me and sent it along. It's from a London prop shop. It's a real antique toilet roll. It says right here on the Irish package it came in, souvenir toilette tissue on the customs receipt. And then this one is an interesting item. This is a Frosty Chiller, and I was looking at it, thinking about it, and I decided, hey, I should collect it because it sounds like my name, Harley Spiller, Frosty Chiller. You turn a martini glass upside down on it, and it pushes on this can of gas. I'm sure that's real safe. And it turns your glass into a beautifully frosted drink conveyor. And that's part of the collection of things that sound like Harley Spiller. Let me demonstrate some of those finer items. Here's the first one. I had found this in front of the Dalton School on the Upper East Side, and I didn't know what it was. I took it home and was whipping. It was obviously a sports thing. I didn't know what it was, and then my friend Robert came over. He's from Ireland, and he said, Harley, what are you doing with a hurley? I said, what? He goes, this is from the Irish game of hurling. I go, what is that game? And he goes, you know on Sports Illustrated when they go, the agony of defeat, these two guys crunch a third guy in the middle and he kind of melts to the grass? That's hurling. So this is the hurley. And he says, well, next time I go to Ireland, I'll have to get you a slither. I go, what's that? He goes, that's the ball. So he brought me this slither from O'Neill's. So this is a hurley and a slither, which sounds like Harley Spiller, of course. And so the collection began. Maybe you could come over here and see the rest of the collection. It's kind of locked down over here. Here's a New York Giants baseball card for first baseman Harry Spillman. Not too many people have ever heard of Harry Spillman, but I had to trade a 6-year-old on the school bus coming home from Riverdale Country Day School. He had it. I wanted it because it sounds like Harley Spiller. I gave him everything I had except my money and my wallet. I gave him pencils and pens and every possible thing, my business card, everything. He drove a hard bargain, the little Wall Streeter to be. And here's a really nice one. To Harley, love, Phyllis Diller. A true and real autograph from Phyllis Diller to me. I mailed it to her. She kindly mailed it right back. The most recent addition to things that sound like Harley Spiller is this. There's a Fluxus artist named Larry Miller, and he chews things, and that's his piece. So he chewed his business card for me, and you can really see the dental work there. It's kind of gross. And he said he would have ordinarily chewed it a lot more for his artwork, but since I collected things that sound like Harley Spiller, he left it at the point where I could read his name. So yeah, those are the things that sound like Harley Spiller, the only collection like it in the world. Oh, did I forget the handy snipper? So yeah, you're over here. We call this thing the the master hallway. If you look up here, that's the way to Coney Island. No, just kidding. That's a piece of a bus mirror that fell off on the street one day. And up here is a nice piece of artwork. This is John Ahern. He's a East Harlem artist, and his studio's open to the public. You can just waltz in. Kids come down in their pajamas and play chess at night, and he has them cast their hands, and he gets permission and casts their faces and paints them sometimes, leaves them white other times. He's a well-known artist, exhibited around the world, and he gave me this, and of course he gave me a pair of his plaster-coated scissors that he uses to trim out these works. It looks really fragile and delicate, and it sort of is, but it's dropped a couple times when the door gets open wildly, and the plaster's really, really strong, actually. Moving along. Let's see. This is a sign from a Korean dumpling shop in Flushing. I didn't know what it meant for many years. And when the curators came over from the Smithsonian for the spoons, one of them was Korean and explained to me that it was buns and dumplings and Korean snacks. I believe the paperwork, is right here. It says du ply sa, steamed buns, and noodle soup called guksu and jin bao. So noodle soup, dumpling soup, and steamed buns, I'm happy to report. I put it the right way. I didn't know which way was upside down or right side up, and I looked at it every which way, and I looked for balance, and I hit it correctly. Here at the end of the hall is a wonderful thing. It's a tit print for Harley Love Annie Sprinkle, a well-known artist who inks up her gigantic bosom and smushes them into a stencil, in this case shaped like a heart, and gave that to me. Up here is a sign taken in a photo of a sign in Vancouver in the back of a Chinese restaurant. It says, "Women, slippery when wet." And down here is a small photo that means an awful lot to me. It's me and the former governor of Virginia, Doug Wilder. And there's an old expression, shaking hands with the governor. Excuse me, you got to go shake hands with the governor means I'm going to go take a pee. So this is the entranceway to Mapateria, the finest place to pee on earth. When I got to this apartment, this was the saddest thing. The fire escape was the greatest, and this was the saddest. I had a water closet. My elbows hit the wall. It was claustrophobic, and it made me feel rotten inside. So I pasted a map of the New York City subway on the inside of the door here, and all of a sudden I was out of the room. Yeah, I was sitting in there, but I was dreaming about New York City. All the languages on that map, all the places to go, the subway lines. It was great. And so I started putting up maps from everywhere, and over the years it's had 3 installations. It became, instead of Mapateria, it became Globorama with 3D objects on the back shelf and an actual globe hanging up in there. There's lots and lots of maps. They're fun to look at. House guests will sometimes go in and not come out for a long time. I'll have to knock and say, "Is everything okay?" And they'll say something like, "It's fine, I'm here in Kanchenjunga, northeastern India, just checking it out." And so it's a fun thing. I hope when we get our new apartment that there can be a few maps in the bathroom to carry forward. Up here is a ceiling unit that my friend Paul put up, so I have lots more storage. Every inch is used to the best capacity I know of. After a quarter century, I'm full. There's no real room for stuff to go. So this stuff is in the hallway, and it's neatly stacked, but I'm full up, and I really don't know what to give up. I want to give away the Mr. T collection. That'll free up some space, but the rest of the things I'm kind of attached to. I teach with these objects. I have up here a collection of security devices, the little tags that are on the back of trucks that lock them down so no one can steal whatever is in the inside. And that's a fun collection. The bracelets they give you at nightclubs. Also up here are hats, things made out of plastic, luggage tags, scissors, 39 yarmulkes, a small collection of soap, which I use for teaching, Metro cards, playing cards, credit cards, pencils, drinking straws, shopping bags, chopsticks, pictures of funny hairstyles.
Hello, Harley. This is Karen. I'm still not at home, and I'm guessing I'll be home.
That's the caterer to be for our wedding.
If it's not too late, you can give me a ring.
So
okay,
she really wants the job. And she's fighting an uphill battle because we asked her for an estimate and she's just not coming through. But that's okay because we met another person who may be able to do it for us. See, thank you. So anyways, this is a ceiling unit, but sometimes it's called the ceiling eunuch because it looks over the harem bed over here. Get it? Ceiling eunuch, harem bed. The eunuchs protected the harem. And so this is the master bedroom. This is the harem bed. And over here, my fiance, the only and best member of any harem ever in the world, my better two-thirds, Micki Watanabe. Sometimes we call this area the cockpit because there's all this stuff above. The TV swings around. And Mickey's clacking away on the computer here, doing great work. And thank you. Most people, when they hear that I have the Guinness World Record for most menus in the world, say, "You're not married, are you?" But Mickey's the brave soul who's going to change all that. And there it is, the Guinness World Record certificate. Harley Spiller, New York, USA, has been collecting restaurant menus since 1981. It has accumulated 5,006 Chinese menus from all 50 U.S. states and from 80 foreign countries. Woo! But actually, I have over 10,000 menus. We just didn't have time to count them all. Above that is a Keith Haring magic marker drawing on a piece of tin flashing. It was in Cortlandt Alley behind the Mud Club. And the day Keith Haring died, I was down that block, and there were 4 babies in a row in that little drawing, and someone had cut through one and stolen one out of the wall. And I said, I'm going to get the other 2. And the next day I went back with a pair of tin snips, and I cut them out and framed them up, and I have a real piece of graffiti. Not painting on canvas made to hang in someone's house or a museum, but actual graffiti from behind the Mud Club. Kind of fun for me to have that. This is another Keith Haring work. This is also rather interesting. It's if you'll notice when he signed it, he's got a registration mark. He was working with the idea, how can I make a duplicate and original? In other words, artists make prints and multiples, but how can I make that the original? So he took a catalog of the work of Arp and Leger, and he did graffiti on the open page of the catalog. And you could tell that it was magic marker on the catalog and that someone had altered it. But once he photostated it at Giant Photo Labs, the marker blended in with the rest of the imagery. So this is the original, even though it's a duplicate, at least in Keith's mind. And moving around the room, this is a really nice innovation. I now have a one-step walk-in closet. This apartment, when it was first built, was model housing for the immigrants who built the 2nd and Lexington Avenue railroads. The 3rd Avenue, I'm not sure on that exactly, but the men who built the railroads around here were mostly Irish and other European immigrants. And in 1899, this building opened. The rooms rented for $1 a week. And they bragged about having a bathtub in their house and private stove. And so there was a wall here. And the front room, one guy got that room with a little half closet. And the back room, the other guy got this room with a little half closet. And then the toilet they shared. And there's a coat closet in the hall where they could hang their couple of coats. So this was a studio apartment for 2 men at the turn of the century. My buddy took down this wall and closed off the front, so I have much better ventilation now through this curtains. And I actually have a closet. I used to have my underpants in the kitchen and my socks in the bedroom. It wasn't the best of all worlds. Over here is a great pair of scissors from my collection. well, they're not real scissors. It's a prop from a locksmith shop, which also sharpens scissors. And he went out of business and gave me these for a song. I have a lot of artwork. I'm a museum professional, but most of it's in flat files and not displayed because I don't have the space for it. So this is my display of small and important pieces to me. This one and this one are by Futura 2000. This is by Days and Martin Wong. This one's by my sister. This is by Dwayne Michaels, a photographer who's a friend of my father. This is by Art Spiegelman. Art Spiegelman is the principal in Raw Comics and an underground comic genius who in 1983 or so applied for a show at the Jewish Museum where I was working with some drawings of cartoons of the Holocaust. And the cats were the Nazis and the mice were the Jews. And I thought it looked cool. And my boss pitched it. And I pulled it out and showed it to her again. And she pitched it again. And a third time I said, come on, let's go see this guy. I think this is important. So we went to Art Spiegelman's studio and he had a library of comic books. It was beautifully organized, Dewey Decimaled up. And she was mighty impressed. And so he got into a show called Jewish Themes, Contemporary American Artists. And we had to go ask the rabbis who are in charge of the museum if it was kosher indeed to exhibit a stuffed mouse in the museum. It is kosher to exhibit a stuffed mouse in a Jewish organization. Spiegelman went on to win the Pulitzer Prize for his mouse books, and I'm proud to have been truly the one who pushed and got him his first museum show. This is by Charles Burchfield, an important American watercolor painter. It's a little pencil doodle, and it's framed so that you can see the other little pencil doodle on the other side. Alas, the hook's on the back, and there's no hook on the front, so I don't get to do that as much as I like. This is by an artist from Argentina named Daniel San Giorgio, and he's a friend of mine, and trying to learn English, trying to learn Spanish from each other. We were sitting on the stoops one day, on the stoop in front of Franklin Furnace one day, and one of our student interns walked in and she had stockings with glow-in-the-dark spider webs or skeleton kind of things on them. And he said, phosphorescente. And I said, I thought you said that was matches. You asked for matches. He said, no, those are phosphoros. So we came up with the expression phosphoros phosphorescente. And the next day he gave me this beautiful drawing of three giant matches in a spent matchbook. I treasure it. It's better than Klaus Oldenburg for me. So up here are some Chinese menus. This is one day in the life of Harley Spiller. I was flown out to be on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show to co-host with Mr. T, and I did that. Here's my one of my well, what do they call these things? The prompt cards, cue cards. And there's Mr. T and me with his autograph and all the stuff I collected from that one day in Hollywood. I saved everything. The photos. There's his agent's name and number, written by none other than Lawrence Pity the Fool T-Row. And up here, this is my Tchotchkes Gone Wild display, and it's all the things that don't fit into other collections, and there's a whole heck of a lot of stuff up here. It's way too much, but I love it. These are homie dolls, which I was collecting a lot of. My sister gave me a lot of them. Then I kind of lost interest because they're really forcing the collectibleness of their product, and everybody does it, so I lost interest. But I do have fun taking pictures of real-life New York City scenes that I'm going to hopefully someday build a diorama. So here's Booker's Barber Shop, and that's the background for these homies. I hope to build a diorama and take it out of the ordinary collectible and make it my own collectible. In China, they have these things called scholar rocks, and scholars keep a rock on their desk. When they hit a mental wall, they're supposed to look at the rock and wander it as if they were climbing and in the woods with their eye only. So scholar rocks have several points that are important. They should have holes through them. They should have inclusions. This one has a small seashell inside the hole in the rock. And you should be able to walk with your eye through various layers. So this was just a little river rock. Usually the scholars' rocks are big, but it had the right characteristics. And I'm using a Chinese wooden bowl easel for a ceramic rice bowl upside down, and I've got my scholar rock display. And I'm proud of that little thing. This is from Venezuela. Not too many people know what this is. It's a native face painting tool. It's got a nice curve to it. You dip it in the pigments and you roll it on your face and you get these tribal markings. This is one of my favorite things, a 6-pack of Dr. Pepper crayons. I made this out of clay and a paper clip. It's a Chinese takeout box. Micki found this on the streets of Brooklyn and gave it to me. It's a purple badminton birdie. In here, this is a nice little turtle, and it pops open, and in here I have a quail's wishbone, an arrowhead, and before they used to rubber band a lobster's claws, they used to peg them so that they wouldn't bite the people who wanted to eat them. And this is a lobster claw peg from a long time ago. I don't know who saves that stuff. I don't know why I save it, but it's interesting to me. This is from Leon Ferrari. It's a Voodoo Doll. And it says, "For Harley, with hugs and kisses, Leon and Alicia." She's got white feet and black hands, and it's a Voodoo Doll. Perhaps your audience will recognize this. It's an autographed brain from the filmmaker Richard Leeds. He did this movie, Dudes. Let me tell you, this movie was on the hook, you know. And then he autographed Sleep Well, and so I keep this above my bed because what the heck. Up here is my souvenir from the '64 World's Fair, a bobblehead Unisphere, and a souvenir from my favorite restaurant of all time. Oh yeah, Mi Tierra. I had my birthday dinner there the first 11 years of my life in New York, and this always reminds me of the chef who had a similar doll. Wow! There's a lot of stuff on this knick-knack shelf, I'll tell you. These things are fun. These were in 45 John Street, and they were renovating the electrical system. These are Celadon covered wire insulators so that the wire wouldn't get heated. This is ceramic, and they're just pretty to me. I love that color, Celadon. So does Martha Stewart. A lot of people say I'm like the male Martha Stewart. I don't know what I think about that. What's a pack of Wrigley's doing up here? Well, first of all, it was when it was a quarter. Second of all, there's inside paper wrappers. They don't have that anymore. They keep changing. So things are fun to save and collect because things keep changing. Here's a Stewart's Rent Book. I bought this about a month ago. It was patented in 1880. It's old. It's how a landlord would keep track of the people who owed him or her rent. And in this case, it's a him because it says Mr. So there's a general store, I won't tell you where exactly, that still has these things on their shelves on the Upper West Side. And you're able to buy Ace reinforcements and Medico filters, things that are very old. And if they're priced, he will give them to you for the original price. If they're not priced, he charges about $1 each. Here's a box of gummed labels made to look like a book. Dennison made a lot of their products look like books. So the happy little desk worker would line up all their Dennison products. Gummed labels, paper clips, things like that. And you could look at them like a bookshelf, except that they weren't books, really. Here's my Dennis Rodman doll. I've got these hideous, hideous dolls. I guess this was supposed to be President Bush. They're the American Hero dolls. Listen to this. Guess that just about says it all, doesn't it? Well, maybe not. Let's hear one more musical item. You thought it was just a peanut? And miniature Zamboni from Papua New Guinea. That's right, Papua New Guinea, where the main dietary staple is the sago palm. We have a penis protector. That's right, the men of Papua New Guinea are proud of their ability to keep it up, and they keep it up all day long in ceremonies with this Papua New Guinea penis protector filled with seeds, of course, to symbolize you know what. Here's a cake topper that reminds me of the Vice President of the United States, looking to shoot himself in the foot when the prey is right on top of his head. Let's see what else is here. There's some fun stuff in this area. This guy just fell apart. He's from the 99-cent store. He's really quite amazing. He is this doll that came from a 99-cent store with a hand-crocheted sweater, sleeveless, teal tights, a purple shag cut. So what is it? Is he supposed to... That's like, this is how it came. I'm stunned. So one day I saw her, and she's got satiny black skin that's more like purple. So I thought they'd make a nice, happy couple. So they, oh dear. This is from the former Yugoslavia. This is a Romani horse bridal decoration from the used to be able to call them gypsies. You can't do that anymore. And this is a nice pair of items here. These are by Lady Pink, a self-portrait of herself out of little Sculpey clay as a pigeon, and a subway car, well, half a subway car, molded with pretty great realism with the doors and the chains and the lights, and half of my name on one side and her name on the other side. This is from John Lennon's ex, Yoko Ono. It's a box of Smile, Y-O. What's inside the box of Smile? Are you ready? And then below them is really a cool thing. This is made out of dough. It's a Chinese waiter. So when people say, where's my waiter? I actually have a waiter. And let's put this stuff back nicely. So these shelves are filled with lots more material. This is half of a fruit from Venezuela. Kind of interesting. These are Batak calendars. And these are sculptures from Kenya. And this, my little chickadees, is an ABBA 8-track in the original cardboard holster. It's right, ABBA. You know, Waterloo. Well, let's read the playlist here. We've got Eagle, Take a Chance on Me, The Girl with the Golden Hair, and Move On, Hole in Your Soul, The Name of the Game, and One Man, One Woman. 1977, the year I graduated high school, ABBA.